I think we can all agree that the last few months has been pretty stressful, and all that pent-up anxiety really isn't good for us. So, for the good of our health, let's sit back and unwind with some satisfying sights that'll really relax the nerves. Have you ever wanted to see real magic? Well, this video might just be the next best thing. Growing out of nowhere, this incredible time-lapse of a 3D printer makes it look like the structure has sprouted from the ground. Each layer of the print has been photographed at the moment in the cycle where the machine's arms and nozzles are out of sight, making the method look magical. But leaving the machine's movements visible can make the process look equally spellbinding, like this video showing the time-lapse of a 3D printed castle that's over 3 foot tall. It takes some serious patience to wait while a 3D printer does its thing, as this print took almost 10 days. If it had taken just 4 more, it would have been a fort made in a fortnight. Beats sitting around playing Fortnite. After a long day of making exquisite structures, 3D printers need to be cleaned out carefully. But even this part of the process can be relaxing and highly satisfying, as demonstrated here by Reddit user Pots and Pans. Having just used a polylactic acid material to print with, the user struck while the iron was hot, or more accurately, pulled while the material was still pliable. Heating the nozzle up meant it was easier for the Redditor to pull the material out in one impossibly long and incredibly satisfying strand. Does anyone else have a suspicion that that nozzle used to belong to Mary Poppins? Striking while the metal is hot isn't just a phrase, it's also an incredibly satisfying practice, especially when you have a lump of metal this size. What you're seeing is a technique called upset forging, a process which increases the diameter of a hot metal component by compressing its length. In this case, a vertical hydraulic press is used to gradually compact the unit, and the thin layer of metal on the outside shatters and rapidly oxidizes, giving off sparks. Say what you will, but to me, this just looks like forbidden Play-Doh. Probably better not to touch it though. Looking at art can put many people at ease, but just watching the setup of this incredible rainbow installation is art in itself. This piece is called Plexus No. 29 from mixed media artist Gabriel Dahl, displayed at Brigham Young University's Museum of Art back in 2015. Using almost 80 miles of colored thread, Gabriel and his assistants weaved this installation through a series of hooks around the room. This created a unified network of thread known as a plexus. The thread itself was all straight, but the curves you can see are a result of the way the colors in the strings overlap. Satisfaction never looked so colorful. But that's not the only relaxing thing you can do with thread. YouTuber Ironic Ethan gets to cut entire spools of yarn right down the middle at his job, and it looks just as satisfying as it sounds. Now that is the sound and sight of satisfaction. With miles of yarn being wound tightly around each spool, the threads explode outward when cut by the machine, spreading out into fluffy latticed layers. It's definitely one way to unwind. Take a look at this pebble found by Instagrammer Yorkshire.fossils. From the outside, it may not seem like much, but cracking it open reveals a satisfying treasure that's about 180 million years old. This is an ammonite fossil, from the spiral-like shell of an ancient cephalopod from the Jurassic era, distantly related to modern octopus and squid. Even more mesmerizing are these golden fossils, which are occasionally found naturally encased in pyrite, or fool's gold, and go from looking like this to this when polished. Either that or these ammonites were playing the world's longest and fanciest game of hide and seek. Boredom can be its own creative inspiration at times, but TikTok user HeHimBoredLol decided to take that creativity to the next level. Using nothing more than the Apple Notes app on their phone, they changed a few characters on each line to make this essay of boredom dance whenever they scroll down. While this may have taken them hours of work, I'd say this short video was worth every line. So for all bored, aspiring animators out there, take note. Are you one of those people who loves the feeling of peeling off the protective plastic layer from new screens? Me too, but I have your next obsession right here. Take a look how, in one smooth move, this nimble-fingered fellow was able to peel a perfect layer of ice off this giant leaf. But how does such a perfectly solid layer of ice form in the first place? Sometimes freak weather occurrences like freezing rain can leave entire landscapes coated in ice. This happens when falling snow or hail melts on its journey down to Earth after traveling through a warm pocket of air. If droplets contact a surface of sub-zero temperature, the rain rapidly refreezes in a process called supercooling, forming these incredible coatings of ice over everything they touch. But leaves aren't the only things that make for perfect ice molds. Just look at these hauntingly perfect ghost apples found in an orchard in Michigan. As far as I know, no ghosts were robbed of their packed lunches in the making of these striking, frosty fruits. But what we do know is that the orchard was struck by freezing rain back in February 2019. While temperatures were low enough to maintain the ghost apple's icy skin, the real apples on the inside began to rot and slide out of their casings. This is because apples freeze at around 28 degrees Fahrenheit, while water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So when the orchard's temperature hit that sweet spot in between the two, the apples began to break down while the ice stayed intact. When it comes to witnessing satisfying sights, some people are just in the right place at the right time, like Reddit user BW, who whipped out his phone just in time to record this thin coating of ice sliding down a handrail as it melted. As it moves off the rail, the ice reaches a point where it's too heavy to keep moving forward without support and snaps off. But the rapid succession of the breaks makes it feel more like a machine than a force of nature. Then again, I guess nature is the biggest, most satisfying machine of all. Usually, the best thing about cake is the taste, but you don't have to taste these cakes in order to appreciate them. Just one look will be enough to satisfy anyone. That's because they're being mirror glazed, a process that uses a specific sugar and gelatin icing to create an alluringly shiny glaze. The glaze is poured over a frozen or cooled cake and left to drip, spreading out colors in the mixture as it oozes. Looking at this, can't you feel all your worries just dripping away? There's more than one sweet thing about traditional rock candy, and one of the sweetest parts of all is the way it's made. Once the mixture for this sugary treat has been molded and rolled into a series of long pipes, the candy then sets and is ready to be cut, like this variety from Zuckerl Workstock candy manufacturers. With expert timing, multiple pipes are balanced and cut by hand in quick succession, making each piece a similar size, ready for packaging. Efficiency has never looked so sweet. Some people may brag about being able to draw a perfect circle, but that's nothing in comparison to laying a perfect sphere. Chickens around the world have been known to produce these brilliantly spherical eggs, something which, presumably on slower days, news outlets deem as headline-worthy. While they may look pleasing, spherical eggs are actually associated with hen overcrowding and stress, and they're not ideal for a typical nest either, as their shape means they're more likely to roll away. But I expect they can still produce a well-rounded chick. You may have thought all the schools were closed during lockdown, but not this one. This incredibly pleasing phenomenon, filmed by TikTok user Agatha Jolly, shows an entire school of fish trailing after a single duck. It's not clear exactly why the fish are following the duck in such a uniform manner, but they may all be following a single duck-loving leader because of their social hierarchy. Either that or they're feeding on the duck's droppings. Science, forever ruining the magic of the moment. Does it ever feel like there's a hole in your soul that can only be filled by perfectly arranged images? Well, after scrolling through Instagram user Whitney's account, you can count that hole as filled. Real named Adam Hillman, this self-proclaimed object arranger artfully organizes everyday items into impossibly enjoyable images. His pieces range from colorful paperclip displays and rainbow dice arrangements to jelly bean geometry and toothpick tessellations. But some of his most liked and most intrinsically satisfying works comes from his ventures with fruit. Like here when he used the layers of oranges to create the illusion of clear-cut geometric cubes. Or here where he used different types of apples to make this mesmerizing cutting board of color. I don't think I've ever laid eyes on anything more appealing. If fresh fruit really ticks your boxes, feast your eyes on Reddit user Celestial Meatball's incredible homegrown find. This tomato doesn't show a single divot or bump on its surface and is so well rounded it almost puts the spherical egg to shame. The only imperfection in sight is this tiny green speck on its top. But don't worry, another Reddit user, Callie Cassiopeia, noticed this and edited it out so everyone can sleep soundly tonight. Now, playing with sand can be incredibly fun, but did you ever imagine that arranging sand like this could be just as rewarding? Don't worry, that calm feeling you're experiencing is completely normal. The arrangement of sand in this way is actually used in the creation of Japanese rock gardens, or Zen gardens as they're sometimes aptly known. The patterns in the sand or gravel are meant to mimic water, while larger stones represent mountains. Zen monks occasionally use this pattern raking as a kind of meditation in motion. So it seems like the answers to enlightenment might lie in your nearest sandbox. Have you ever seen an object with a complex marble print pattern on it and wondered, how was that painted on? In some cases, the answer is simpler and more satisfying than you may think. This is a process called hydro-dipping, which involves layering paint on top of a tank full of water. Before the paint sets, an item like this guitar is dumped slowly into the water, transferring the paint onto it. While it seems like magic, it's really a simple process allowed by the fact that water's surface tension keeps the pattern in place, allowing it to curve around any shape. In a slightly different approach, specially printed water-soluble films can be used instead of paint. These prints dissolve onto the surface of the water, ready for coating, giving objects like this hubcap an intricately decorated appearance. Turns out relaxation now comes in a big tub of water and paint. There are few things more rewarding than watching hot glass being twisted and bent into shape, and this video from Vitrix Studios in New York proves it. With absolute precision, these glass artists wind a molten hot globule of glass, which will have reached about 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, around a stem of cooler glass. They constantly roll and move the main glass base to prevent gravity from letting it droop, and the heat of the new glass is enough to fuse the two sections together as they spin. Once all the main components are added, the sculpture is then reheated and bent into shape, creating this incredible signature product which Vitrix's glassblowers call a hichi. Honestly, I'd probably buy one of these just to watch that process again. Feeling a little more relaxed? Which of these sites did the trick for you? Let me know in the comments down below, and thanks for watching.